What's cracking? Josie Garfunkle. Let's learn some shit. Alright, so today we are going to take a look at the effect area file and what all we can do with it. It's probably going to be a two-part video, but we're going to go over what we can do to spice up our servers a little bit. Try to change some of the effects we have going on around the map so we're not spawning bonfires everywhere and such, just for some visuals. So first off, go to the Discord, go to the effect area info, grab this link if you want to follow along, and you can kind of read through all this. I'll touch it briefly, but for a visual, to make this easier, we're going to look at this down here. So the position is obviously where you want it to be. The radius is the distance between that and the outside edge of the effect. The positive height is how far it comes up from that point. The negative height is how far below the ground it goes, or below where your point is, in case it's not level ground, right? The count for the rings, alright? The ring on the inside of emitters. These rings are emitter rings, right? They're emitting the particles in which create the visual effect we have. And then the particle distance is how far apart on this ring those emitters for the particles are. Layers, you can duplicate that and it'll be above, like it'll stack the layers. That's just if it's a really tall mountain and you need to cover the whole thing, maybe make a bunch of little ones instead of a huge one like that, because yeah, you're just duplicating all those emitters. And it says here, important note, we do not recommend having more than 100 emitters per zone. That's including everything, and each emitter is putting out 10 particles. So if this is 20 meters apart, you have 20 particles every 20 well, you have 10 every 20 meters, but each section you're standing in basically has the 10. If you're using a 2 in a ring count, it'll split those rings, so then you have that many more emitters. So the more you add, the more it's just going to keep getting laggier and laggier. So you don't want to be too heavy with it, but you do want to get the point across. Alright, so to make our own, we are going to copy a vanilla insert and paste it right above it. Simply rename it. I want to put some heavy fog on the green mountain, give it a mystical vibe. So let's put the green mountain fog up here. Alright, so to start with, let's move a section over here to the green mountain. So to pick our center point, you just hover the mouse on iSurvive, iSurvive.com. Hover it around, Control C will copy that to the clipboard as you see. Bars. Alright, so let's hop on our local server and see what we have. Alright, so we're here on our local server up here at the Green Mountain, and we do have a contaminated area. About one problem with that, we don't want a contaminated area. We want to change that up. Right? Alright, so we want to change that from being a contaminated zone to a fog zone. So to do that, we're going to need to know some effects names and such. So come over here to the G-code, effects list. We got a whole list of stuff in here. It probably needs updated, but it's what we got. So if we want to turn the bad effects off, right? The quote bad, the cuts, the coughing, the sickness, all that. We just want to use effect trigger. Okay? Copy these straight from the Discord. Effect trigger. Alright? Now the particle name, that's what the overall visual is, and we don't want that yellow gas. We want the spooky mist. So we're going to come down here to the on the particle name list. We're going to pull spooky mist off of here, paste it right in there. Alright, now the player data is what's happening to the player visually, I guess you could say. So around particle, what's happening around the player when you're going through here? We don't want the contaminated gas, we already know that, so let's put some spooky mist in there. Tiny particle name. Let's leave them little tiny glows, right? That's them little particles that float around at you and whatnot. We're going to leave those. And then the requester type is like if you're wearing glasses, right? So as you see, it's the your screen tints a little yellow on this. We don't really want that. Let's go look at some other ones. Alright, so scroll down here. We have all the different helmets, glasses, and whatnot for visual effects. Let's sports, green, black, blue. Choose sports blue. Let's see what happens here if we put the blue in there. Alright, so let's load back into our local server and see what's going on. Alright, over here on our local server, there we go. It doesn't look like it's contaminated anymore. Oh, there we go. That's the glasses effect taken in. You see that? That's pretty awesome, huh? Right. Changes the whole vibe of the place, I guess, and helps you see better. Still got them little toxic, or not toxic, what are these? Particles. These are just the visual particles from the toxic zone. And we still got those coming through. Pretty cool. And it's... oh, got some zombies up here, so we need to be careful. But yeah, this would limit your vision a whole lot, I would imagine, right? Coming through here. What if we want to have that effect way down here, though? We want to cover this whole area, right? Alright, so what we got going is looking pretty good, but I want to thicken it up, add a round to it. What we saw in the beginning of this video is just one large 300 meter radius, so it's a 600 overall section on my server, and it's really thin in the middle. You have a nice thick outer ring, which I like, and you have the center part, which is looking like we just saw, but I want to add a bunch of little ones around it. Right? So first we're going to change this one to be the center. Now we know that's the center, we don't need to mess with that one. But to add another one, we're going to copy that, paste it, and we're going to change this. We'll just go around here and make little ones. So we're just going to change the radius and leave the rest the same. We're going to come down here to, let's see, it's about that big, so we want another one about right here. And again, we don't need the decimal, we just need the main part of it. Copy it again, paste it in. Alright. Now, to keep up with yourself, if you want, you can add these in along your way, and then you can just know where your center points are as you go to keep up with them easier. So let's change another one. Again, you got to visualize about that big of a circle because we're leaving it vanilla, so we need to add another one over here. Well, we don't want it to overlap too much, about over here, right? Just copy the main part in, the X and the Z without the decimal. Drop the dot. Add another one. Got our little circle with our center at the top, and we need to go back through and change their names as we change the first one to distinguish it, whatever. So green mount fog 1, that's fine. Green mount fog 2. Alright, Control S, save, make it a habit. And let's play around with some of these play around with some of these other effects we got here, right? Let's check them out. Let's put the orange one in there. Put the green one in there. Controller disconnect blur. We'll see what that is. Check out the aviator. Alright, let's hop back on our local server. Alright, back here on our local server. Got a larger area. Alright, I guess you could add more if you wanted to make it a bigger section. Oh, there we go. Tint change. Let's go around and see what other tints we got. Today we changed some contaminated zones to be some fog zones. Changed the trigger type so it didn't hurt us while we were inside of it. Changed some visual effects so we had like a different tint and whatnot to give it a whole different vibe. And that's pretty much it for making those type of fog zones. If you don't want the tiny particles around you, you can just do this, like remove it. If you don't want a visual effect, you can just leave that blank. If you just want an overall fog pitch where you don't have the extra around the players. But if you want to give each individual player the little bedazzle, you can add all that stuff. But that's pretty much it. To make a fog area, you can mess around with it and place effects. You can shorten the particle distance emitters so you can get a more clustered effect. You can change the tints. Just play around with it, see what you can create. I had a good time making all this stuff to figure out how I wanted my server to go, but you can make, all kinds of effects, forest fires and whatnot. But that's it for this one. Hope y'all learned some shit. I'm out.